Hey everybody, it's Chad with Nobody Else's Auto. It is 7 o'clock Sunday evening. Time for Sunday Night Live Chat. We are live on two formats tonight, as usual, Facebook and YouTube. We'll give everybody a few seconds to get their notifications, get on with us, and we'll get rolling. We've already got a few people on YouTube right now. Old school with us. I don't know what the deal is with PayPal and you old school, because I haven't had any other issues with it. The email address is in the text. Make sure you're using the 3 in there as well with the CSE, or it probably won't go through. So you might like that. But yeah, I got 3 PayPals immediately after the episode last Sunday, so it's working on my end. Kim's here, Brandon's here. And let's see, you got a few people jumping on with us on Facebook as well. And we'll get rolling here shortly. Like I said, thanks for coming back, everybody. A few more people jumping on with us on YouTube. We'll see how Facebook does. It's giving me error messages already right out of the gate. So Facebook's been kind of up and down, so we'll see what happens with it. Kevin's here. Said BW Garage sent him over. We're glad you made it. Appreciate that, BW's Garage. Alan, North Carolina's here. Chris is here. Tim's here. So good group jumping on YouTube. Scott's in Iowa's on Facebook. Lee's on, another one of our regulars. Glad you made it. D-Man's Garage is here. Bill's here. So got a good group jumping on. As always, thanks for coming back. Still amazed that you guys do it every week, but we come back. We have a great time. We talk about a lot of cool car stuff, and it's thanks to all of you for engaging and commenting and being part of this to make it what it really is. So James is on with us. Joe is on Facebook. Said it's working, but not very well. So, like I said, I don't know if when I get the fiber hooked up, we'll see if that helps it and see if that makes any difference with the feed on Facebook. So far, the last several weeks, YouTube has been hanging in there. So, as always, if you're on Facebook and we've got an issue, you can always jump over to the Nobody Show channel on YouTube and join in there. And I don't know what it's telling that old school, because I don't even have a website. So I don't know what the issue is with PayPal on there. So, yeah, I don't have a website don't even have a website, much less a website that PayPal is tied to. Terry's here. Glad you made it. Scott from Texas is here. Fuel Fire Garage came over once again from BW's Garage. So thanks. Appreciate you putting the word out, BW. Also, if you are on Facebook on the Nobody's Show page, not the Nobody Else's Auto page, I'm on the Nobody Else's Auto page with a shared video to the Nobody Show page. So if you're on the Nobody Show channel on Facebook, I cannot see your comments. If you want to comment or participate, then you need to be on the Nobody Else's Auto page or the Nobody Show channel on YouTube. So Kathy from South Dakota is here on Facebook. Old school, only I've got I do have another email address on there. I'll have to double check and see what that is. See, Kevin's here. Jason's Garage. Number 1 made it. So great crowd jumping on again tonight. Thanks a lot to everybody for being here. D-Man, spent my weekend sanding 35 Ford spoke rims. That sounds like a long, monotonous, tedious weekend doing that. So, but that's what it takes sometimes. So, old school saw some old Bennett pumps today at an old gas station. Got a video of those up on his channel, so be sure to check that out as well. And what's been happening? Well, I kind of hit a milestone on Facebook this week, which I don't know if it's going to cooperate tonight, but we did hit a big milestone on Facebook this week. 25,000 likes on the Nobody Else's Auto page. So thanks to all of you guys out there that are on that page to help make that what it is and make it that strong. Was pretty excited to hit that milestone. Did a live on Facebook yesterday because of it on the Nobody Else's Auto page. Did a live walk around in the yard to kind of commemorate the fact that we hit 25,000 likes this week. So for me, that's a pretty big step. I know there's a lot of guys out there that are a lot bigger than me, but for me, that was pretty cool. Jerry from New Mexico is on Facebook with us as well. Let's see. Oh, it's D-Man. My hands cramped. Had to stop. I bet so. That's a lot of spokes to do a whole set of wheels. Number one, what's this I keep hearing about a bunch of dots from BW's Friday chat? Did not catch that. So, but glad you all made it here tonight. And let's go ahead and get rolling. Like I said, as always, comments, questions, be sure to throw them up there. If and we'll sure try to address them. Sometimes I don't have the answer, but sometimes some of our other viewers do. As always, when we get trolls, you guys do great at running them off. I super appreciate that. I'm not going to acknowledge them because that's what they want. So I ignore them. You guys do a great job of running them off. And as always, I appreciate that. Shares, if you want to throw a share out there, I always appreciate that. Bring some more friends in. Bill just hit the like button on YouTube. Appreciate that, Bill. Joe is on. Another Joe says likes the picture of the B29. Yeah, thought we'd change up the background a little bit tonight instead of a sign or a car part. I've got a series. I don't know whether it's a series. I've got 4 or 5 super cool pictures like this of B29s. I've got a lot of World War II aircraft stuff, a lot of parts and things like that, even original parts off of World War II aircraft. And like I said, I've got 4 or 5 of these pictures, and they're super cool. They're all this whole set I've got are all B29, and various different pictures, but they are cool. I do love them. I've got some, and actually right here in Great Bend where we're at was actually a B29 base. So there were B29s literally flying all over the area right in here back during World War II. This was a training base. They built them in Wichita, and they had 4 training bases right here in central Kansas: Pratt, Salina, Great Bend, and Walker. And they're still, the airport out there, in fact, where the drag strip is at, is part of the original B-29 base. It was originally a B-29 runway. Joe's also a fan of World War II aircraft, so that's pretty cool. I've got some really neat stuff that has been found here in Great Bend over the years. I've got some notebooks out of a jewelry store here from World War II, which you wouldn't think too much about, why there would be, military notebooks in a jewelry store. And the jewelry store was open the entire time throughout World War II, and he still conducted business on a regular basis. And the jeweler worked at night upstairs in the jewelry store, and that's where he did his military service, because he rebuilt and calibrated the Nordens for those B-29s. And I've got all of his notebooks. So some pretty cool stuff. That's right, Joe. Doc was just restored a couple of years ago. They actually had Doc and Fifi both right here in Great Bend for the air show. So that was a really cool deal too. Lots of comments popping up on YouTube. Let me get caught up here real quick. Let's see. D-Man's Garage, a couple more rims, and he's getting his rims ready to paint. Brandon, yes, the B-25 Mitchell, great aircraft as well. Number one, I have World War II plane seats and gauges for hot rodding. I don't have any seats. I've got all kinds of miscellaneous pieces. I've actually got a chunk of a bomb bay door off of a crashed B-29. I've got main landing gear wheels for B-29s, B-25s, leather skull caps. I do have some gauges, but a lot of, I've got propellers. I've got a propeller off of a Martin B-26 Marauder in my other shop next door. So, not tons and tons of stuff, but I've got a fairly extensive collection of World War II aviation stuff as well. So I think that stuff's super cool. You guys may not be into it, but I've always liked it. I've also got turbo superchargers off of some of those aircraft as well. So, but to me, I think it's really cool. I love the technology. I love what came out of that era of aviation and how we see how that transitioned into the hot rod world and even into the OE world throughout the 50s as the jet age came about. And, and a lot of those styling cues were incorporated into the cars. So all that stuff, all the ties between aviation and cars back in the 40s and 50s, I love. I love the tie-ins, the design tie-ins, the technology tie-ins, all that stuff. Just thought was super cool. Joe, any Corsair stuff? No, I don't really have any Corsair parts, but they are amazing aircraft, that's for sure. Old School just found a Mobile One jet oil can today. Those are, and that's another thing I love. And there again, another tie-in. a lot of the aviation signs and aviation globes and aviation cans from the gas and oil world that, incorporate right into our world of collecting. So that's why I mixed it up a little bit tonight. I hope you guys dig it. I got plenty of that stuff too that I can start throwing up, but thought we'd change it up and do something different, see what you guys thought of that as well. So obviously some positive comments, and once again, more positive conversation just from a picture hanging up that we dig. So Nate's on with us. Goes to a car show in Yoder at the old naval base about every year. The old towers and a lot of the buildings are still there. Yeah. And that's true. A lot of that stuff does still exist. If you're anywhere near it, be sure to check it out. Joe, cars are made out of P-38 auxiliary fuel tanks. That's right. There were, a lot of the land speed cars back in the late 40s, early 50s were made out of belly tankers or belly tanks. They call them belly tankers because they literally were made out of belly tanks. So that was super cool. There again, another tie. There's just so many ways to tie the two worlds together. And I don't know if that's, what really hooked me on them. Brandon, the only way the lowriders got up and down were World War II hydraulics. Eloy made it tonight. Glad you're here. But like I said, and a lot of that came from World War II when those guys got back. They were flying these planes. They took that technology. They took those ideas. They incorporated that into their hot rods. When they got back for World War II, they had money, they had knowledge, and a lot of that was shifted into the hot rod world. So, I think it's great. What really hooked me is about a little over 20 years ago, Fifi was here in Great Bend. At one point, we went out and saw her, and that's what really hooked me. That was right around the late 90s, 99, 2000, 01, somewhere around in that vicinity. Just the plane just amazed me, and that's what really hooked me in. I've been to Oshkosh a couple times now. I've actually ridden in a B-17 a couple of times. So love that stuff. Love everything about it and think it's great. Lance says no Shermans in the yard. I assume you mean Sherman tanks. And no, I don't have any Sherman tanks. But a tank would be like super cool to have because a tank would just be awesome to say you own a tank. So, but unfortunately, I do not have one. But it'd be awesome if I did. Anyway, something we talked about a couple of weeks ago that I told you guys I would get into and we hadn't done yet. There were some questions a few weeks back about Miss Belvedere, the 57 Plymouth that was exhumed basically from the time capsule in Tulsa, Oklahoma several years ago. I think in 07, I think 50 years after they put it in there, only to find out that the vault had cracked and leaked and full of water. There was an article on that car in Old Cars Weekly. When was this? Recently, about a month, not quite a month ago. In this issue of Old Cars Weekly, Old School or Big Job made it. Glad Big Job made it tonight. Jason's Garage. Chad, wasn't that something about the car buried in the ground? Yeah, that's the Plymouth we were talking about a couple weeks ago. Some guys had some questions about it. This issue here about 3 weeks ago actually covered it. And it actually has an article explaining kind of what happened to the car after it came out, and they kind of, tried to do something with it, which was pretty limited. But it is finally on permanent display at Historic Auto Attractions in Roscoe, Illinois. So the questions were kind of whatever happened to that car. Well, and I told you I would get to it. I missed it the last week or two, but I did get the magazine back out, and that's where it's at. Roscoe, Illinois, at the Historic Auto Attraction Museum. So they preserved the car best they could because it was really, really tough. So they did what they could to try to preserve it, keep it intact. I think it sounds like it was about to fall apart. And that's where it's at, is in the Auto Attractions Museum, Historic Auto Attractions Museum, Roscoe, Illinois. So if you get Old Cars Weekly, it's right there in that issue, or, try to pick that one up and, check that out if you want to read the whole article. So, but that's what happened to it. That did come up a few weeks ago, and I told you guys I would get to it and I just missed it last week. So that's right, Jason's Garage. Too bad they didn't keep it in an above ground vault or something. Kevin, he lives in Tulsa, and he said that car was in bad shape when they pulled it out. So he was apparently there and saw it. But yeah, it like I said, it basically sat in water and dirt for decades, and as we all know, that's not good on any of it. We know how bad it is when something sinks into the mud and sits there and rots. This thing had the water and the mud all basically showering in around it, and it just sat in it. So number one, did you see the news clip of the guy who designed the car's tomb? They guaranteed it would be perfect, and then they all disappeared when it came out and still won't do interviews. Well, that don't surprise me. Alan NC hit me with a super chat. That's awesome. Really appreciate you guys when you throw super chats out there. It's awesome that you guys like what we're doing enough to support it and hit me with some super chats to support what we're doing here. So that's great. Thanks, Al. I appreciate it. And means a lot that you guys think enough of what we do to support it financially as well. Okay, old school still fight. I've got another email address on there. I'll just have to check it after we get done. That's kind of a different. I primarily use that CSE3 at cox.net. So if that's not working, we'll have to try the other one maybe. Is that the one? Fuel Fire, was that the one that was on American Hot Rod? I think they did do some with that American Hot Rod show as well, if I remember correctly. BW's Garage agrees with that as well. So, but that's what happened to it. And that was kind of the question when it came up a couple weeks ago, was what happened to it. That's what happened to it. It's in that museum in Illinois. I'm sure they probably got a website or somewhere where you can look it up. And if you're ever up in that neck of the woods, you can stop by and check it out in person. So that's what happened. That's what I found out on that. Old school, your email has to be linked to your banking info or else it won't work. It worked the first time, but now it won't. I have no idea what the glitch is, old school, because it's like I said, I've been getting payments in it. I transferred money out of it the other day, and I don't have any issues on my end whatsoever. Even going to my bank the other day when I did a transfer there. So, and once again, if you are on Facebook, on the Nobody's Show page on Facebook, I cannot see those comments. So if you want to comment or participate in trivia or anything, please be on the Nobody Else's Auto page or the Nobody's Show channel on YouTube. Let's see. Number one, I think they sold handfuls or jars of what they cleaned out of the tomb. It sounds like it was just mud. So, and that's right. Like Bill says, you can send a money order as well. And some guys have even just sent me cash in an envelope. So I do get that as well. And that address is on that address is on there as well. Cassiano is on with us on Facebook as well. So anyway, how about let's check out another cool badge tonight. Something we started doing a while back. I hope you guys dig this. Checking out some cool badges. Gail from Des Moines on Facebook as well. So got a few comments still popping up on Facebook. And hopefully it's hanging in there for you guys. I know it's frustrating, but I'm hoping that now that the fiber is here, they will get it physically into my shops sooner rather than later. Tonight's badge is kind of a cool one. I actually found a whole nother box of badges. Shayla was down here this week helping clean some stuff up. Found a super cool box of badges, some great stuff. And I picked this one out of that badge, of this box of badges that I actually kind of forgot I had. And there's some great stuff in here. Pretty excited about it. But tonight's badge, this is a great piece from a Hudson Terraplane. We'll hold it up. Check it out right here. This, I believe, was like off the front of a grill. It is like a pop metal badge, has a little bit of a curve to it. Terraplane across the top with Hudson down the bottom. Did a little bit of research on how the Terraplane came to be, and it was obviously a brand of the Hudson motor car they made between 32 and 38. However, originally it was the Essex Terraplane. And they're in 32 when it first came out, it was branded as the Essex Terraplane by Hudson. In 34, they just simply dropped the Essex and made it the Terraplane. And they actually used it on cars and trucks. The Essex was actually an inexpensive Hudson that they started producing in 1919, and then they merged Essex completely into Hudson in 22. Said the Terraplane contributed greatly to Hudson motor sales during the Depression in the 30s. Sales of the Terraplane actually outpaced Hudson vehicles in the mid to late 30s. And it said that Hudson management was not fond of the fact that their cheaper car was outpacing their premium cars. It said one thing that was interesting, and this was something I didn't even know about a Terraplane, was one unique feature was the Duomatic brakes. Terraplanes had two brake systems. And you've got to remember, at this point, a lot of vehicles were still mechanical brakes. Even Ford and a lot of those more common, well-known vehicles were still mechanical brakes. Terraplanes had two, hydraulic and mechanical. So if you had a hydraulic leak, your mechanical brakes, you still had a backup feature. So pretty interesting feature back in the mid-30s to have a car with dual braking systems. And, it was definitely kind of interesting how it worked. It said they actually had a sales slogan or marketing campaign from 1933 that said, on the sea, it's aquaplaning. In the air, that's aeroplaning. But on the land, in traffic, and on the hills, it's terraplaning. So kind of neat the way they worked that into their marketing. Big Job says he's going to take care of Old School's raffle and he can send it to him. So that'll work great. But back to the Terraplane, it says the new Essex Terraplane was actually launched July 21st of 1932. That was when it first came out, and it was there when it was branded as an Essex. They had a big rollout for it, including they had Amelia Earhart involved in the rollout, and it even says Orville Wright purchased one of the very first Essex Terraplanes. So some big names involved with Terraplanes when they first rolled them out. Number one, was that because of lack of faith in juice brakes? That's what I'm guessing. I was kind of thinking the same thing, that they went with the dual braking system. At that time, like I said, for the 30 years they'd been making cars, everything was mechanical brakes. And this new, mystery hydraulic system, I really bet that's probably what it amounted to, number one, is people didn't trust it. Kevin says there was a support group for Hudson, Essex, and Terraplane. It's a great group. I bet there is. These are neat cars. So in 32 and 33, it was branded as the Essex Terraplane. And they came in most common body styles. In 34, Essex was dropped and it became just the Terraplane. And then in 38, as they were starting to phase out the Terraplane and going back to focusing on the Hudson brand, for 38, they called them a Hudson Terraplane, and then eventually did away with it. So kind of some interesting history about the Terraplane. Darren's on with us. Glad you made it, Darren. Hey, and I checked it. Your address on your paperwork from when you bought raffle tickets last time. So I do need to get your information this week to get that stuff shipped out to you. So I'm glad you're on tonight. But that's the badge tonight. And let's see. Number one, are we getting a speed round of badge engineering? Probably not. I can show you the box. The box is laying right here. Some kind of highlights, but I only had one that I actually did some research on tonight to share with you guys and check out. So that's the one we had. But this box we found is great. Like I said, Shayla's been cleaning some stuff up and cleaning out a bunch of stuff in the office. I got a huge pile of license plates and badges and stuff over there too. But this one box that she found was just outstanding. I don't know if I can show it without dumping it all out, but there's some cool stuff in here. A lot of them still in baggies. And so it's kind of tough because it's all sliding around, but some great stuff in that box that we're going to be checking out here over the coming weeks. Yeah, that's fine, Darren. Just get with me this week and I'll get that stuff off to you. Kevin, was there paint on the badge? I think the lettering was red. I think you're correct. It seems to me like I've seen these before and the lettering was red, but at this point, I can't see any color left on it at all. But I think you are right, Kevin. It was red. Old school, the half-ton badge you sent me, what year was it? I don't know the exact year on those little license plates. Like these right here. I don't know exactly. And they did change them. Some years they had different ones. So I don't know for sure what year these were, but probably somewhere in the 50s, early to mid 50s is what I'm guessing. So, and I do have some of these. If if anybody's interested in purchasing them, I've got halves, 1.5s, 2.5s. I've got a lot of these all brand new old stock. If anybody wants one for their truck, you can always get a hold of me on that too. But that's what I think it was. Old school is, sometime I'd say early to mid 50s. Let's see. Amy, that Belvedere looks about as rusty as her Studebaker after 75 years in the salt belt. Yeah, that doesn't say much if you're comparing it to stuff in the salt belt. So, let's see. Yeah, Darren says times that I decided it should have no color. That's about right. Number one, I do not have any of those tags that say quarter ton. Just half, 1.5, and 2.5. I think I may have a few other bigger ones, but nothing small like a quarter ton. So, anyway, that's the badge for tonight. Obviously, got tons more cool badges to come. And I guess we'll start checking out another magazine if everybody's ready. Tonight, we're going to do another motor trend, backing it up a little bit into the 70s again, like we talked about last week. The early to mid 70s, I'd kind of neglected, really. And there's some great stuff in there. So this one we're going to check out is the February of 1973 motor trend. It's got an old Mercury on the cover. Loving the automobile is the topic. And a lot of that really didn't apply to a lot of what we talk about. I was talking about cruising and going out on dates and stuff in the cars. So there's a little bit that we'll catch on that. But obviously, we read across the top, 74 Camaro and Firebird. So obviously that caught my attention. If you've been hanging out here with me, the 74 Z28 that I just recently found that was in Hot Rod Magazine. And, so I've got, so that caught my eye right out of the gate. And so those are there's a lot of cool stuff in here. Jerry, how much for a half ton? Give me a shout tomorrow. And I think I've been doing 30 a piece shipped on those half ton ones. So if you want one of those, you can give me a shout on it. Let's see what else we got popping up over here. Salt belt, grain belt, Bible belt, sun belt. Yeah, that's true. There's lots of different belts. And Kim says you forgot the rust belt. Fortunately, I'm not in the rust belt. Fortunately, most of my sheet metal is pretty decent. The stuff that I get that is rusty, it just needs, some skin patches maybe. So that's always good for me. But let's check out what was going on in the world of the automotive world of February of 73. Dan said he got his badge in the mail. Glad it made it, Dan. Glad you like it. And we'll start off this thing. One thing about it, I will say this about this issue of Motor Trend from February of 73. It had to be a profitable issue. There is a ton of ads in here. Tons of ads. I mean, I literally got to, I don't know how many pages before I even found any content in this whole magazine. See, there's an article on page 26, and there's not much any there other than there's letters to the editor, there's a page of letters to the editor, table of contents, and then it's page 26 before you get to any articles in this issue. So, actually, number one, unfortunately, no turkey hunt tonight again. So we're gonna have to go back to the late 70s to get on another turkey hunt. Chopper 1 made it. Glad you're here tonight, Chopper 1. But we'll flip up here once we finally get to some articles in this issue. And obviously, the thing that stood out to me right out of the gate, the 74 Camaro and Firebird intro. Now, obviously, they knew things were changing. The bumpers were going to have to change, things like that, due to the U.S. crash standards. So in February of 73, here's what they thought the 74 Camaro was going to look like, which looks pretty much identical to a 70 to 72 with some very, very minor subtle changes. Obviously, we know they did end up changing essentially the entire front end on that car. And, I've got the videos on my 74 if you're curious about what it looks like, or check out the issue of Hot Rod Magazine where they featured it and see what's going on there. But obviously, nothing there other than a slightly revised 70 to 72 front end on the 74 Camaro that they were anticipating in February of 73. Number one, what Wild Turkey, an empty gas tank, and a back seat seems like it goes to the cover of that magazine. That's true there too, but unfortunately, no turkey hunt tonight. And if you're new to us, turkey hunt is when we get into any of these magazines from the late 70s, there is one iconic picture of a flying turkey that Wild Turkey used in all their marketing in the late 70s. And it's kind of become a thing on here to do the turkey hunt when we get into a magazine from the 70s. So, but we're going to have to go to the later 70s to do it. Now, the next thing that we're going to flip the page again to the 74 Firebird stuff. Gene, do you have any parts for a 78, 88 coupe? I've got a 77. So anything that may interchange off of a 77 two-door, I do have that car. Because we need to find one before Thanksgiving. Okay, we'll do that sometime before Thanksgiving or maybe that week. We'll get one that's got a Wild Turkey ad in it so we can go on a turkey hunt. Now, what they did get right, if we flip the page to cover Firebird, it's got a picture of the nose of the Firebird, which was, once again, completely wrong. However, what they did get pretty close were the tails of both cars. And the Camaro's almost dead on. So, but there again, that's what's fun about doing this. We're looking back with 2020 hindsight. We look at the nose of what they anticipated for the Firebird. Obviously, absolutely nothing like what a 74 Firebird looked like when it came out in production. However, we look at the rears of the cars, almost dead on. The Camaro's almost exact. See the bumper here. You can see the filler panel there. The taillights are the right shape. The spoiler, almost perfect. Firebird not too far off. Obviously, these lights, that never happened, but they took the taillights that they did have and they narrowed them and extended them. And that's what happened in 74. They did take those shorter lights and extended them more towards the middle of the car. So not terribly far off on the rear end of the Firebird and almost dead on the rear end of the Camaro. Obviously, the noses were not anywhere even remotely close. So flip forward a few more pages to a road test. This was a very interesting one. This one caught my eye. I thought it was pretty neat, actually. Sam made it. Glad you're here, Sam. But this road test, there's two good road tests in this issue. This one is almost one to kind of chuckle at. It is a kind of a mid-size road test. The AMC Hornet hatchback, the Chevrolet Nova hatchback, and the Dodge Dart Sport. So some interesting things there. Old school designs were so much nicer back in the day. Now all cars look like blobs. So front end shot across the three of the Hornet, the Nova, and the Dart. And it says, let's just call them Detroit's gifts to the plunderers of hardware and lumber stores. Probably because of the hatchback design and the ability to put stuff in them and haul big stuff. Classic Ride Society, listening while messing with the brakes on a 77 Formula. That's cool. Obviously, if you've been hanging out here for a while, I'm a huge fan of the 77, 78 Firebirds. So, and, I've got that Marty Blue 78 that's an original car was sold new here in Great Bend. So anytime you say 77, 78 Firebird, you get my attention. So I like the formulas. I love the Skybirds. I always wanted a Skybird, as well as the Trans Am that I do have. So, but there again, they had interior shots with, all of these cars. We'll flip it around and see if you guys can get a little bit of a look at the interior shots. Showed the dash, showed the interior. The Nova was a basic column shift bench seat car. The Hornet actually was bucket seats, floor shift, and the Dart was actually bucket seats, floor shift with full console. So fairly sporty, considering the times and what everybody was up against in the automotive world at that point in time. Classic Ride Society always coming in late. That's all right. You still made it. That's all that matters. So, specifications for the Hornet, the Nova, and the Dart. One thing that definitely caught my eye and kind of surprised me actually a little bit was the Hornet actually still had a 360 in it, and the Nova actually had a 350 in it, and then the Dart had a 318. They were all two barrels. They were all 3-speed automatics, and so you think about it for the times. These things were still, compression was listed compression ratio in here, and they were all in the eights. 8.5 to 1 compression ratio. They were not. They were definitely not a powerhouse by any means, but for the times, these cars, like I said, with the exception of Nova, these cars had floor shift bucket seats, rally wheels, fairly sporty cars. In fact, they all had rally wheels on them. We can see in the action shot they included. Considering that at this point in time, with the gas crunch coming on, fuel economy coming on, and any sort of anything even remotely related to performance trying to be squelched, these were kind of neat cars considering what they were up against. Obviously, no rocket ships. And believe it or not, the Hornet was the quickest. They had quarter-mile times listed. The Hornet ran a 16:52 at 84.66. Followed up second by the Dart with a 16:70 at 81.59 miles an hour, and the Nova coming in last at a 17:40 at 79 miles an hour. So, old school. How long did the gas crunch last for? I don't know exactly when it kind of started phasing out. Obviously, a good chunk of the mid-70s. Number one, his neighbor had a brown Hornet Sportback wagon. Yeah, number one doesn't like it, but that'd be a pretty cool car today, actually, because it'd be so different. Nobody would even know what it was. So I thought that was really a pretty decent article on what they were trying to still somewhat maintain somewhat of a sporty image with these cars at that point. Kevin learned how to drive in a 68 Dart with a stick in it. So, but that's what they were up against at the time. We'll skip forward here a couple more pages to another road test. And this was a luxury car road test. And that's what I thought was so cool about this, especially there again, when you were looking at that point in time when gas prices were going up, there was gas shortages, couldn't even get gas at some point. This road test was kind of on a couple of luxury barges, the Chevrolet Caprice Classic and the Ford LTD Brougham. Obviously, the 70s era Chevrolets have gotten crazy lately. And so the LTDs have not caught on like the Chevrolets of this era have. So I thought this was a pretty cool, comparison. And there again, still almost everything in black and white, but a lot of good pictures and a lot of good information in these articles, especially these road tests where they really broke this stuff down. But that was the thing with Motor Trend. It was a new car type magazine, which is great today because we can look back with 2020 hindsight and check all this stuff out. Now, this is another thing that kind of caught my eye. There again, knowing we were at this point in time with the gas crisis and things, the Caprice was actually a big block car with a 454, and the LTD actually had a 429 in it. So I'm really surprised that, of course, they were still making those cars, so that's what they did. And the Classic Ride side says big rim guys like the 71 and 76 Caprice. But yeah, it's getting more and more across the board with that 70s era stuff. And just a lot of people like the 71 and 76 Chevys. So they've gotten a huge following right now. These were big luxury cars. They did have some performance information with these. The Caprice ran a 17 flat in the quarter mile at 86 miles an hour. The LTD ran a 17.5 at 81 miles an hour. These 454 at that point was rated at 200 horse with 375 pounds of torque. Remember, this is 73, low compression stuff, 8.5 to 1. However, the Ford 429, they literally had that choked down to 202 horsepower and 320 pounds of torque. So the 454 was still breathing a little life, but the 429, that was pretty bleak numbers for that, for that engine. Amy drove a 77 LTD in high school. D-Man Garage says gas is spiking in Florida and everywhere else, and that's 100% true. So one thing that I did notice interesting about this, when they started this article off, it says there was a time when a Ford was a Ford and a Chevy was a Chevy. Today, a Ford is an LTD Brougham and a Chevy is a Caprice Classic. Obviously, these cars were loaded up with options, and the way these were equipped, when they tested these cars were $6,000 a piece. So, comparison for 1973, these, which were, like I said, at the time, pretty loaded up, big blocks and full power, $6,000 a piece. Kind of crazy when we look at what cars are today. It's nothing, but that's what they were at that time. Couple more articles we're going to check out. One thing that I thought was just super cool that I had to look at, there's a section where they actually had color pictures. Obviously, a lot of these magazines don't have a lot of color pictures. It's kind of neat when we do see some. Ellen in North Carolina, what was the first year of lead-free gas? That I do not remember. Number one, you can't buy OEM tires for those mid to late 70s cars. I bet Coker does a lot of that stuff, though, or if they're not, they're probably going to be making them pretty quick. Darren, seems like a waste of weight to use a 429 for 200 horse. Yeah, that was kind of crazy. That when I see, 250 out of the 454 ain't very good, but to see 202 horse out of a 429, it was really, really bleak. So, Randy made it a little late, but you're here. That's all that matters. And this next one, it's 2 pages of small color pictures. They're going to be kind of hard to see. But I'm going to share it with you, and I'll hold it up for a few minutes to check it out. But obviously, we're in the 70s, and one of this, like I said on the cover, was talking about, dating, parking, cruising in your car. So they had a 2-page full color spread on what do we all know they used in the 70s to do that with? Vans. Super cool pictures of vans, including the Pink Panther, the Vanilla Van. So I'll let everybody check these out, take them in for a few minutes, because there's a ton of cool pictures here. A couple more comments popping up. Josh, need 54, 55 Oldsmobile. Do not have any of those cars right now. I've got a 55 bought, but it is not physically on the property yet. Jason, I'm starting to see a lot more LTDs and Thunderbirds in my area. A guy at work drives a Country Squire. Dan says unleaded started in late 74. So that's what Dan remembered is when unleaded started coming onto the scene. I believe they were both available throughout the 70s. I do seem like I remember, that you could get leaded and unleaded fuel. I remember seeing that as a kid, years ago. But there's some cool pictures of the vans. I hope you guys can see some of that stuff. Obviously a big, huge movement in that day. That's right. Fuel Fire says going to the lake to watch the submarine races. That was a good excuse when you were out in your van. So, but anyway, super cool pictures. Definitely signs of the times for a magazine from 1973. Brand says, long live the van. And the vans are finally getting their due. They are coming, starting to come back. Mick, those cars were $6 then and we'll still get $6 now. And you can't even buy good ones for $6 now, Mick. So that's those cars have gotten crazy on value. That's right, Randy. These were the shaggin' wagons. That was another name for these vans. But like I said, just tons of cool stuff, tons of cool pictures. One's called the Chile Verde, Orange Sunshine, the Dead End Kids, the Vampire. I don't know if you guys can see the Vampire or not up here in the corner. Even had a costume to go with his van. So pretty cool stuff. Kevin says vans were cool. You could customize them any way you wanted. And VW led the way with campers, and that's all true as well. So there are some of the vans, and like I said, that's something part of that era that is super cool to check out, and it almost was so commonplace back in that time. Now, one other thing we're going to check out, and this actually they did do the Motor Trend back at the time, but we usually don't catch them. They usually had an old car worked into it, old school. Nope, I didn't see a Scooby Doo van either. Big Job says if those vans could talk. Actually, some of those vans we probably really wouldn't want them to be able to talk, if truth be known. So that's right, Jason, the Mystery Machine. Stranger Danger Van. That's another good name for them. But the retrospect article in this issue in 1973, there again, they're looking back in retrospect from 1973 was the 1951 Nash Air Flight. Obviously, we all know Jess is usually on here with us, and she's a huge fan of Nash's. Just took her 49 home, and they had a big 2-color page spread of a 51 Nash in this issue. And there again, color, not a lot of it in this issue at all. So it's definitely something kind of different. Number 1 says none of those exist anymore. They mostly became work vans again and lost their parts or returning to the earth via oxidation. And that's true. Yeah, I mean, those vans were so overlooked. Nobody cared. But when the 80s came around, the early 80s, people were still using a lot of conversion up into the, and even up into the 90s. But when the minivans came out, the station wagons went away. The big vans became, just like number 1 said, primarily work vehicles. And that's what happened to them. They were just like we see a lot of the stuff we look at now, the old delivery trucks, the cab overs, all those things that were utilitarian. They were used up, beat up, tore up, and when they were dead, and they were put out to pasture or crushed. So that's 100% right. A lot of those vans don't exist anymore just because of that. Yes, Kevin, I do have one A100 out in the yard right now. So we'll go ahead and get into some ads. Like I said, there was a ton of them. I just had to pick out some of the good car ads to look at. And plus some very interesting classifieds in this issue of Motor Trend. Brandon, anyone remember the Boater van? That I do not remember. We've still got a few people on Facebook. If you are commenting, it's not feeding me anything. And once again, if you are commenting on the Nobody's Show page on Facebook, I do not see those comments. So if you're on the Nobody's Show page and you want to comment or participate in trivia, you will need to be on the Nobody's Show channel on YouTube or the Nobody Else's Auto page. Number 1, what was the Mystery Machine? It looks like a mid-60s Chevy van, then a Dodge A100, not a Ford. Yeah, in the mid to late 60s, most of those vans all looked a lot alike. The little flat windshield Chevy and GMCs, the A100s, the Econo lines with the split grill, definitely looked a little different. But I think the Mystery Machine itself was just pretty much a cartoon van, and all the ones that have been made were just made out of whatever they could find that was close to that. Oh, that's right. Randy says, yeah, the Ford E350 that had a boat part of the body. I did remember seeing that not too long ago. That started popping up again. I do remember seeing that now. So yes, I do remember that. So anyway, like I said, we do still have some people on with us on Facebook, just no comments popping up over there. So anyway, let's check out some ads. Like I said, I think there was as many ads in this magazine as there was articles this month. So had to have been a profitable month for Motor Trend. First ad we're going to start off with, actually it is a liquor ad, but it's not Wild Turkey, but it has a car in it. And that's kind of why it, stood out to me. This ad is for Walker's Deluxe, and they advertised it as aged 8 years. They called it that elegant straight 8. So what they used in their ad was a 1930 S.J. Duesenberg torpedo Phaeton with a supercharged straight 8. Cool ad. Obviously the Duesenberg completely overshadows the liquor bottle, but definitely catches your attention. I mean, obviously Duesenbergs are Duesenbergs. Always have been, always will be. They are an amazing car. Nothing compares to them. But I thought it was kind of neat the way they aged their liquor 8 years. So they tied that in with an 8-cylinder Duesenberg to obviously take their product to a different level of quality by comparing it to a Duesenberg. So next ad, we're going to check out 2-page ad in black and white, and kind of a different take on things, a whole different take on an ad, especially considering what they were advertising, considering they were advertising the Pinto. It says, whatever happened to the good old days when Ford supplied the basics and you supplied the rest? In 1973, all's well. Pinto supplies the basics. The rest is up to you. Now, and you got to remember, we got to put this into perspective. We're talking about a Pinto because they're comparing the Pinto to the basics. Well, the basics they're talking about are the old hot rods, the 32s, the Model A's, the Mercs that everybody customized and made hot rods out of, and comparing the Pinto as the basic canvas to start with compared to the way guys built hot rods out of Fords back in the day. Now, did that happen? Yes. Did people customize their Pintos? Yes. Is that a little bit of a stretch? I would say so. Comparing the Pinto to a 32 or a Chop Merc, I would say that's a pretty good stretch. But there again, it was advertising. It was whatever they could do to catch your eye. They probably weren't sure that the Pinto was going to do it, so they figured they'd throw a few hot rods in there to catch everybody's eye and get them to look at the Pinto ad. Actually, we're going to catch a full color ad next from GM for the Opel. 1973 Opel GT, uncomplicated excitement. Obviously, these are kind of neat little cars, have always had their own following. They've been compared to called a mini Corvette. Obviously, Opel, German brand that was imported by Buick. And, the GT was a neat little car. They were extremely unique. I don't know a ton about them. I've never owned one. But they were always a different little car. I think for the time, for something that was small and sporty, I think they fit the bill. They do have a little bit of a following, but still not a huge, massive following. But they are a neat little car. And like I said, the ad obviously stood out and definitely caught your attention, especially being full color with the yellow in it in a magazine of primarily black and white. Jason's Garage, what was the base engine for the Pinto? Let's see what it tells us. Plus, you can get plenty of help right from Ford's list of options. So this must have been an optional engine, a 2000cc cam and head 4. So that must have been the optional engine. So the other one must have been just a basic standard 4-cylinder layout if the optional engine was a overhead cam 4-cylinder. Next ad we're going to check out, once again, full color stands out. It's amazing when you're flipping through a magazine that's primarily black and white how much these full color ads stand out, especially when they add a little color to them. And this was for a Pontiac ad and something a little different. Big job. My buddy used to pick up my other buddy's Pinto in the air by himself just so he could do a burnout. My buddy used to pick up my other buddy's Pinto in the air by himself just so he could do a burnout. The guy that picked up the car said you didn't mess with him. I would bet not. So, Darren says you could get it there with an extra hamster. Yep, that's probably about right. This next ad from Pontiac, 2-page full color for the 73 Ventura. Obviously, the Nova platform. This one actually, even the red one, actually, it was the Ventura Sprint. Rally 2 wheels. You can see the sporty dash with the wood wheel on that one. It shows the hatch like the Nova in the road test we talked about. But like I said, it's amazing how much these ads pop out in a magazine that is predominantly black and white. The next ad we're going to check out is a little bit different. It's actually not related, but it is so 1970s that I had to show it to you. Prepare for a whole new career in home entertainment electronics as you build yourself a Bell & Howell solid-state color TV. Yes, you can be a TV repairman and they can teach you how to do it. Randy says he misses his old 73 Ventura. Yeah, like I said, a lot of these from the 70s that were overlooked for a lot of years, we miss it now, and that's why they're getting so popular, because nobody saved them. Actually, in 73, number one, in 73, the GTO was still based on the A body. It was 74 that they went to that body style based on that Ventura. Brandon says Dodge Aspen looked a lot like the Nova. That's true, too. Kevin, was the Opel GT maybe an alternative to a Porsche, or is that a stretch? I would say that would even be a stretch there. I mean, they were a sporty-looking economy cars about what they amounted to. But in case anybody wants to sign up for the Bell and Howell School of Television Repair Work, the card is still here to sign up for it. No postage necessary if mailed in the United States if you want to sign up for the Bell and Howell Television Repair School. So that's what I thought was pretty cool. Expensive tools, doesn't look like it. It says if you can use any of these tools, you can build a new future. So it must have been pretty basic. Chopper One says GTO is his favorite. Number one, Opel GT, comparable to MGB. I would agree with that. Number one, MG type size, MG type performance. Cool, sporty, neat looking, not necessarily a rocket ship or a. So I think that's a good comparison, number one. Old School says sign him up. He wants to be a TV repairman. Darren says he drove one of those Opels once, kind of clunky, but it sure looked cool. Scott on Facebook, yes, the GTO in 74 was on that Ventura body, but in 73 it was still the A body. So. But at least your comments still work, Scott. I was starting to wonder if Facebook comments were even working, so that's good that it came through. We'll flip through a few more pages here and catch a couple of ads. EB Bud gas price per gallon. I didn't see anything about gas prices in here. Old School says he's got 30 old 70s TVs. Brandon, who made the Fuego? I don't remember who made the Fuego. I do remember that name, but I don't remember who made it. But let's skip up a couple of more pages to another car that kind of fits almost that same bill. Number one, MG Performance. That is kind of funny when you put I did use those two words in the same sentence, so that is kind of funny. But here's a car that is often forgotten and often overlooked. We've talked about it on here a little bit before it's come up. John from Tennessee is on with us on Facebook. Glad you made it. Old School, the Fuego was a Renault. Okay, that makes sense. But the Capri, the Mercury Capri, after only 2 years, Capri is outselling every European car in America except one. Here's why. So, we've talked about these a little bit. They are unique. I don't know a ton about them. I don't have any of them. There's one. I know there's one sitting I've got a bunch more cars to pick up. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting it bought yet or not. But there again, these are some neat little cars that have definitely been overlooked. Nobody really thought twice about them. Over the years. For the time, there again, they were somewhat sporty. They were economical. They were small. They got good fuel economy. They were a car for the times. That's what they were. Let's see. Number one, Fuego was French, ? Spanish. Old School says Spanish. It means fire. Yes, number one, I do have PayPal. That address is in the text for this broadcast on both Facebook and YouTube. So let's see, what other ads did we want to check out after the Capri? Here's an ad, and there again, it's in black and white, and it's a little bit different because it's for a Cutlass 4-door. The Cutlass Salon by Oldsmobile. It's not like any other Cutlass. In many ways, it's like a European touring sedan, but there are two important differences. It's much less, and it's priced it's built in the USA. Black and white ad, so it doesn't stand out when you're comparing it to the road test for the Hornet, the Nova, because it's black and white, it just kind of blends in. However, they're trying to brand the 4-door Cutlass Salon as more of a touring type car. You know, obviously the A-body platform was always kind of a sporty performance-based car. They were trying to brand the four-door versions of that as a European comparable touring type car. But like I said, the black and white ad doesn't really grab you like some of the other color ads do that pop up in this magazine. Skip forward a few more pages to another ad that definitely catches your eye. A lot of color, 2-page ad. And if you're a Mopar fan, you'll definitely like this one. The Roadrunner, the 340 Duster, and the Cuda for $73. Great ad. Three of one of a kind from Plymouth. All great cars, all highly sought after cars today. The 73, 74 Roadrunners really starting to come into their own. Obviously, 340 Dusters and Darts have been popular for a long time, and obviously anything E-body has been crazy for a long time. So great ad there. You know, and then another thing I really liked about this ad was the old Chrysler Plymouth logo over here on the far side. The old baby blue logo that they used for years, kind of a neat piece there. But like I said, these color ads really stood out. This one definitely hit the mark. You could not flip through this magazine without stopping to look at this ad. It definitely grabbed your attention against the black background with the bright colors. Scott, Pontiac made a 4-door Grand Am at the same time the Salon was offered, and that is a great point, Scott. You are 100% correct. They did make the 4-door Grand Am in kind of as the same 4-door sporty touring type car. So that's another great point, Scott. Thanks for throwing that up there. Let's flip forward a few more pages. Brandon likes the Trio too. Yeah, it definitely stood out. And this is actually a Delco ad. When you need a new battery, think of the one GM starts with. Obviously, Delco batteries were used in the GM products. That's what they were trying to get at. Had the Delco logo with the GM down here in the corner. But there again, a full color ad just for a battery. That was a pretty big deal at the time. But once again, it caught your eye. It caught your attention. And that's what these full color ads did in this area, in this area of time. Kevin's a CUDA fan, and let's see, big job, sell that ad to Graveyard Cars. Number one, weird connection, fuselage, Chryslers, and old warplane in the background. Yeah. Old school, does Delco still exist? Yep, they do still. AC Delco does still exist. So another cool ad that I actually didn't catch this the first time I flipped through it. I just seen it and glanced over it. But there again, kind of a signs of the time, something you don't really think about anymore. Full page color ad where you could order your own fantastic, not just normal, fantastic racing posters. And it had a little bit of everything, motocross, open wheel, Le Mans type stuff, dragsters, Indy, more Le Mans stuff, motocross. All these fantastic racing posters could be yours. Actually had a little order form, a little order blank down here at the bottom. You could check off which ones you wanted. Some of them, the prices range from $2.25 to $2.95. Some of these did have some of these were different sizes. So I'm assuming that was the difference in price versus which one you wanted. Add 50 cents for postage and handling on all orders under $3. Add $1 for orders over $3. So if you order two, it costs more. But there was all the pricing. There was your order form to order your own fantastic racing posters to decorate your bedroom with if you were a kid in 1973 reading Motor Trend. Another ad that I kind of had to do a double take on and kind of study about a little bit was all black and white, no cars in it at all text, but it was an ad for AMC. And it was on their warranty. Once and for all, American Motors wants you to judge which one of these companies has the best new car guarantee. AMC, we back them better because we build them better, was their motto for their new car warranty in 73. Obviously, AMC was still hanging in there at the time. They were definitely not at the top of the heap, but they were still fighting the good fight, still trying to make things happen, and trying to do it by convincing the public that they really built a extremely high quality vehicle and could back that up with the warranty. Fuel Fire Garage had the top right dirt bike poster. He got it at Kmart. Loch Ness Fox is here. You're a little late, but that's okay. No problem. Which one was it? The top right dirt bike poster. So I'm assuming right over here, this one or maybe this one. I bet it was this one. Got it at Kmart. Super cool to see that. I bet that probably brought back a few memories for you to see that one pop up in this issue of Motor Trend. One more ad that we're going to catch, and then we're going to get into the classifieds. Yep, Fuel Fire says that was it. So, inside back cover. Obviously, this was a new car for the time. The new Monte Carlo with the road manners of Europe's finest. Once again, trying to brand these American cars with European touring cars. In fact, the picture even looks European. 1973 Chevrolet, building a better way to see the USA. Number one says order another. They're only $225. That's right. Once again, obviously, it looks like a European setting, almost kind of a castle in the background. Trying to convince the car buying public that they were comparable to European touring sedans. So obviously, Monte Carlo was new for 73 after the redesign. So anything they could do to show this car in a good light, that's what they were trying to do. Obviously, these body lines really accentuated in this photo with the light, which obviously that was a big part of the design of those cars at that point. So they wanted to make sure they showed that off. Something else interesting down here, factory sunroof car. So that was kind of different as well. Big Job says he remembers that. So anyway, that's what we've got for tonight in ads for the February 73 issue of Motor Trend. Now we're going to catch some classifieds. The classifieds were amazing in this issue. So we get her towards the back, and we'll flip through some of them. One page of classifieds right here in the back. And I'm going to read you a few of them, and then I'm going to show you the pictures because there's a handful of them in here that just boggle your mind. And we'll start right here. And a lot of you guys can probably see what that one is. Very clean, very strong, 1965 Cobra with a 306 horse 289. 29,000 miles, recently restored silver with black interior. $6,900. So we'll kind of hold this one up close. There it is. $6,900. Of course, it's a small block, so it wasn't a 427 Cobra, so you'd have to deal with the fact it was just a small block. But it was $6,900 for a real Cobra. Another car that's kind of crazy to think about that's there again, well into the six figures, if not pushing seven figures. 1959 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster. 28,000 miles, one owner, concours condition, blue-gray paint, red leather, new top, transistorized ignition, over $200 in extras, $9,500. Yeah, everybody wants the numbers on these. So, yeah, crazy to think about. But, here's the Mercedes right here, the 59 300 SL. If you guys can see it, actually had a picture of it. Just crazy to think about in today's world what you could have picked this stuff up for. But you got to remember, a fully loaded, Caprice Classic was $6,000. Let's see, there was a couple more. 1959 Porsche convertible, in storage 10 years, 20,000 miles, Nardi wheel, Carrera instruments, Abarth exhaust, aircraft oil coolers, and it was $3,500 for a 59 Porsche Cabriolet. IMSA point leader 63 Stingray, coupe, split-winded disc brakes, custom headers, Harrison cooler, fuel injected 327, $8,000 for a full competition 63 split window ready to go. Jason signed up for the Porsche. Big job. Wonder how much an ad costs. We'll look at that in a minute. We'll see what the ads cost when we get done here. How about another Porsche? A 54 hardtop coupe. New paint and radials, transmission, shocks, carpeting, wiring, engine rebuilt. This little 54 Porsche hardtop coupe right here could have been yours for the bargain price of $1,600. And there again, it's kind of crazy when you look at that in today's perspective. I did find one. I just did a little quick Google search, and I did find a Project 54 coupe very similar to this available right now for $165,000 for the project car. Something else that was really interesting. This is just a basic four-door sedan, but it really caught my eye. 54 Kaiser Manhattan four-door, but it had a supercharger on it. Down here at the bottom, supercharged 54 Kaiser sedan, $2,500. And there is a couple more that we're going to look at. This one's just an engine available. Big Bad Engine is how it's titled. 426 Hemi, complete rebuild with parts from Urson, Holly, Wyand, Cyclone, and much more. 850 horse. $1,700 invested in the overhaul, but they would take $1,500 for a fresh 426. So, Kevin, they're nice ads. Yeah, it is cool. Number one, $1,600 for used Volkswagen in '73. Brandon says he'll take the Kaiser. Yeah, Kaisers are something that has really been kind of a understated car. So seeing it's pretty cool seeing a four-door with a supercharger on it. Randy, it's about right with inflation, $1,600 to $165,000. So, couple more we're going to check out. One is just right here at the very bottom, and all it says is there's no picture, and it's right down here at the very bottom for a 54 Kaiser Darren, and it just says 54 Kaiser Darren, $1,500, located in Virginia. So I'd love to find one of those. My dad's been kind of looking for one of those, for a Kaiser Darren. They only made a little over 400 of them, so they're again not a ton of them out there to get, but it's pretty cool. The last ad we're going to check out, another one that is just absolutely crazy, titled is Driven Summers Only, 1961 Ferrari 250 GT Coupe. Red with black interior, chrome and sheet metal excellent, engine overhauled less than 8,000 miles ago. Overdrive, Webers, Baranis. 61 Ferrari 250 GT Coupe, ready to go, $6,000. There again, I don't know if these are a seven-figure Ferrari, but they're well into the six figures. The only one I've seen recently, Meekum ran one through at Monterey, and it was bid to like $4.25 and didn't sell. So, I'm guessing easily a $500,000 car in today's world. And it basically cost you the same price as a new Caprice at that time. So, and obviously the 70 Chevys are getting popular, but I still think you would have probably been better off with the Ferrari. Now, what do these classified ads cost? Let's see if it tells us. Let's see. Here's what it says. Actually, we're having fun with your classified ads, and we aren't charging anything for them. The ground rules are keep it short, around 25 words. Send a snapshot that you don't expect to be returned. We can't run them all, so we're going to continue to pick the ones we like. We reserve the right to edit, change, alter, or horse around with your ad. All materials submitted becomes our property because it's a free service, so which they got a point there. Be sure to include your name, address, and zip, and mail it to Motor Trend. So actually, they didn't charge, but you had to have something catchy to catch your eye. So that's probably why they had some kind of interesting titles on some of these cars, anything like that, to try to catch the publisher's eye to get a free ad. That's right. There's a lot of good deals on there. So, but anyway, that's what we've got for the February 1973 issue of Motor Trend. Cigarette ads. Yes, there were some cigarette ads, Kevin. In fact, I think the inside front cover may have been a cigarette. Yeah, Pall Malls. Who remember Pall Malls? We can catch a couple of those. If you guys like the old 70s cigarette ads, we can show through a few of those up too. Number one, are we adding a new segment to Sunday? Badge engineering, turkey hunt, and now one viewers classified each week. I guess we could do a viewers classified. Never thought about it, but yeah, we could. I guess we could do is have everybody could submit a classified if you want. The latest U.S. government figures show Pall Mall Gold 100s are lower in tar than the best-selling Filter King. So there again, typical 70s tobacco advertising. These are the good ones. These are the safe ones. I think there were several. Let me see if we can catch a couple more. Just because there again, it's part of the times that we see when we look back at these magazines, and that's kind of what makes it kind of neat and kind of fun. Even if you're not a smoker, it's still cool to look back in time at some of this stuff and see what's going on. Pick Big Job first so we can sell something and get the Super Duty. Yeah, there we go. Here's one. And this one actually was kind of funny too. This actually kind of had a car on it. It's the Camel GT Challenge. The end of the Camel GT Challenge until next season. And actually had racing results to go with the Camel cigarette ad. Camel filters, they're not for everybody, but then they don't try to be. So I thought that was another pretty funny cigarette ad that I seen pop up as well. And we'll see if I can catch any more. We'll flip real quick here. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this so we can get on to trivia and the raffle and things like that. But some of those there again, it's a sign of the times when we go back and look through these magazines and see the alcohol and the tobacco ads and how they really were trying to convince you that, hey, they were great and it was okay and you could smoke all you wanted and it was fine. It was everything else that hurt you. Kevin, his dad smoked Camels with no filters. So anyway, that's all. Oh, one more. Oh, and here's an iconic one from the 70s as well. And I bet a lot of people are going to remember this. I remember it because my grandma smoked these. Big Job. Yes, got on the fire truck group on Facebook. They all love it, but nobody got any money. So number one, that was his brand in high school, like the Camel Wides and the Unfilters. Could have gone pro after high school. Frank's on with us. Glad you made it. Anyway, this one, we'll catch one more cigarette ad, and this one, like I said, I remember my grandma smoking these when I was a kid. Cool cigarettes, the Filter Kings, cool with a K, and they were bright green. Who remembers these things? I know I definitely do, because I'm pretty sure that's what my grandma smoked. So, yeah, the cool cigarettes with the K, Filter Kings, and the green and white package from the 70s. Even showed it with a rainbow. How you got to feel good about smoking when you see in the ad, right? Nice waterfall, green trees. And the tar and the nicotine is actually now lowered. That's what the rainbow is for. They lowered the tar and the nicotine for the cool milds. So kind of crazy to think about. Get away from hot taste, come up to cool with pure menthol for the taste of extra coolness. So that's what they were trying to do. Mick, telling my age, used to be 27 cents for a pack. And I don't know what they are now. I think they're like $5 or $6 a pack anymore. I don't know. I don't smoke, so I don't know. It just seems like they're pricey. But definitely a 70s ad there with the cool cigarettes with the K. So that'll wrap it up for that issue of Motor Trend from February of 1973. As always, hope you guys enjoyed it. And it's awesome, cool stuff in there. How about some trivia? And then let's talk about the raffle. We'll go ahead and get started with the trivia. Darren is out this week since he was our winner last week. And this week we're going to give away another metal can. This is a Prestone 10-minute radiator flush can. This is new. Nice paint, nice graphics. It is all metal. It's a small can. Good display can, doesn't take up a ton of real estate, but obviously bright red, white, and blue colors on this one. So this is what we're going to send out to the winner tonight. Number 1, Learn to Smoke in a 73 Roadrunner. So I guess this magazine kind of catches you all the way around, doesn't it, number 1? But the 10-minute radiator flush, one-step action, flushes out rust and grease. So, and it is a metal can. You hear it kind of tinging there. So it's an actual metal can. We'll get that out to the winner tonight. Tonight's question, and I will keep an eye on both formats, Facebook and YouTube. The first correct answer that I see that it feeds me will be the winner. That's the only way I know how to do it. But we had a video on some GM trucks the other night, a Chevy and a GMC that came in recently, farm trucks, bigger series trucks, but still, GMC is a super, super good truck. The Chevy's a little rough around the edges, and no, it wasn't the Notre Dame football coach. So, number 1, that's not going to catch it. But obviously, those old trucks, they were designed to work. They were designed to haul grain. They were designed to, move things around in big quantities. They were no rocket ships. They were slow and cumbersome, but they did the job, and they did the job well. Demas, I still have a cool sign and some other tobacco signs left over from his convenience store he owned for many years. Kevin liked the video, so we'll see if you remember the trivia question. One of those trucks still had the remains of a sticker from a co-op on it. Which co-op association was that sticker from, where this truck obviously frequented at some point in its life? So keep an eye on both on comments on both sections on that for tonight's winner. To see who can get that co-op. And already got guesses coming in, but nothing that is right. So we'll give this a couple of minutes and see if anybody gets it, and see who the winner is going to be tonight. So lots of stuff popping up, but nothing yet that is correct. Obviously, we got a new raffle going on this month. We talked about it last week. I'll let you guys pick it. Lots of stuff coming up, but nothing right yet. So guesses coming in on both formats, but still watching for the right one. But obviously, the Buddy L truck that you guys all voted on last week, I held up 3 trucks, 2 Tonkas, 1 Buddy L. The winner was the Buddy L that you guys voted for. And this is it. This is this month's raffle. Beautiful pickup. Great condition. Nope, I still got guesses coming in, but nobody's got the right co-op yet. So we'll give it another minute or two and see if anybody gets it. But this truck, great piece. This is all original paint. It was obviously pretty well cared for. It's got a few chips and scratches because it's, almost 60 years old. But great condition. This had the spring front end. And still don't have a right answer. I've got a lot of things popping up. The question, Darren, was what was the co-op that the GMC grain truck was affiliated with? We'll give it about another minute and see if anybody gets it before we move on. But the Buddy L truck, beautiful piece. This is the raffle. White wall tires, grill guard. No tailgate, but even the bottom side of this truck is clean. So I think it was played with some, but it was pretty minimal. There we go. Jason got it, or pretty close. Jason's as close as anybody got, and he did just miss the letter, but he got the sounding correct. It was Galatia. And that's actually supposed to be a T, not a C, but I knew where you were going with that, Jason, so we'll go ahead and call that. Galatia, Kansas was the co-op that truck was associated with. Now, why did that stand out to me? Because that is actually the little town where my dad had all of his cars stored at. I spent every weekend in Galatia, Kansas when I was a kid. So, but that was it. We had a lot of great guesses. Everybody was in there playing. But Jason finally got it. It was Galatia, Kansas. That's a little tiny town. Actually, no, he doesn't own that. Dad doesn't own that town. He had owned a couple blocks of it, but he sold some of that off, and he's got down to just he's got the house out there, and then and then some 3 buildings out there. So, but no, since we've moved all the cars to my yard, so he just has some buildings left out there full of other cars and parts is what he's got out there right now. So, Yeah, that's one thing about old school. When you do win, it is pricey to get stuff to you, but at least you've gotten it all. Took a little time, but at least you did get it all. So if BW remembered it, yeah, I mean, it was a washed out sticker on the side of that reddish bed. You remember seeing it, BW, but just didn't get it put together. But yep, and that's why I thought it was kind of cool, because obviously, like I said, when I was a kid, I spent every weekend out there messing with old cars, because that's where my dad had all of his old Buicks we sold parts off of. If you're curious about any of that, you can go back and catch those videos. They are on YouTube. We shot several videos from Dad's place as we were moving cars off that property, moving them into my yard. And even when we got all the way down to the last one, it was kind of weird. We kind of worked our way backwards back to the 48 Buick Special. That was one of the very first cars that Dad ever hauled out there about 40 years ago. So those videos were about a year and a half ago. We were working on that pretty hard and heavy last summer, and started about a year before that. So from about a year and a half ago on back, there are several videos from Galatia, from the Buicks and Pontiacs we were moving from my dad's place. So be sure to check those out if you're interested. And but that was the question tonight, and that's why it stood out, was because it was the Galatia Co-op. So let's see. Jason worked for the company that made the bed on that truck. So number one says you can't win, you work for the company. No, actually, the bed was was a totally separate brand. I don't even remember what brand the bed was. But no, Jason doesn't work for the Galatia Co-op. So that was the question. But anyway, back to the raffle on the Buddy L truck. Beautiful piece. Like I said, I don't know what to think. I loved all three of the trucks that we put up. This is the one you guys voted on. It was a close run with the stake truck. The brown Ford came in third. But this is the one you guys voted on. This is the one that somebody's going to win coming up here at the end of the month. Oh, yeah, Knapheide Bed. That's right. So, Knapheide Beds in Quincy, Illinois. So there we go. But the Buddy L truck, the only thing I can really see is it's missing. It must have had a mirror or something over here, because there's a bracket that is missing. Other than that, great piece. Great Buddy L stickers on it. Hubcaps, wide whites. Awesome truck. That's what the winner's going to get. I haven't picked the second prize yet. As of right now, here is who is in. I had a couple guys jump in immediately after the raffle or immediately after the episode last week. Old School likes it. Kevin likes it. Here's what, and I've had some questions about this. If you win in the raffle, are you out for the next month? And the answer to that is no. In the raffle, everybody's buying their own chances. So anybody can win. And when you're paying for your chances, anybody can play. The only reason I switched the trivia to once you win, then you're out for a week, is because I'm giving that stuff away, and I just don't want to give it to the same person every week. That's stuff out of my pocket, so I want to make sure that gets spread around a little bit. So that's why I implemented that rule that once you win, you're out for a week. So Jason will be out next week. When it comes to the raffle, everybody's good every time. As long, if you want to buy chances, you can buy as many chances as you want to get in the can. Big Job says you can still buy the replacement mirror on eBay. So, okay. So that apparently was a mirror, and you can order that piece still today. So another thing kind of interesting, it has like a little hood scoop up here too. So grill guard, even the grill guard's not busted on this thing, and that's plastic. So obviously this truck led a pretty easy life. So be sure to get in on that raffle. You can PayPal me, CSE3@cox.net, or you can mail a check, money order, or like I said, some guys even just throw cash in the mail and have sent it to me to get into the raffle. So, as of right now, here's who got in at the end of right after the episode last week: Brian Winters, Darren Ehrlich, and Ronald Walensky. Big Job. You guys are all in. Those three paid right away. I will double check. Big Job said he was going to throw it in for Old School as well, so I will check that again. And that's right. That's what you guys just threw that up there. So, but that's what I will double check that again. Next week we will go over who is in, and I need to get a second prize picked out for the second name out of the can. But like I said, I hate to give this thing away. It's beautiful. You can even see the shine on the paint on this thing with the light. Great piece. Super excited about it. But I do know one thing about it. When I give it to one of you guys, it's going to go on your shelf in your collection, and it's going to be loved just as much as it would be here. So, if not even more so. So be sure to get in on that. PayPal, check, money order, cash, whatever works for you. Be sure you get in. We've got a couple of weeks. Just don't wait till the end, because there's usually some people that do miss out and forget about it. So, anyway, what else is going on? What did I get in this week? No, I didn't pick up any cars this week. However, we did do a video on parts. Old School's got to jump off. Glad you made it for a while. Had a big load of parts I picked up last weekend. So we unloaded the truck, and I did a video on those on YouTube and posted pictures on Facebook with a link to the video. If there's anything there you're interested in, be sure to give me a shout. Some interesting stuff. Found a couple of really tough convertibles that were about rotted into the ground. However, I did manage to cut the windshield frames off of two of them. One being a 69 Plymouth Satellite, obviously a 68, 69 B-body convertible windshield frame. Pretty tough piece to find, and it's solid. And a 61 Oldsmobile 88 windshield frame. That is a pretty rare piece as well that I think may even fit Impala. And it's a solid convertible windshield frame. And that's right, number one, the G-body rear wagon back glass with the airfoil and the correct hinges for the airfoil, plus the luggage rack for a G-body. So lots of good stuff on that video. Be sure to check that out as well. And see what we've got going on there. I've got to start picking some cars up this week. I went through my list again this morning. As of right now, I've got 36 cars I've written for that I haven't picked up yet. So got to get on that project and have to this week. But last week, I had 6 pallets of shop manuals on the trailer on the back of the truck full. So I didn't get that stuff unloaded, I don't think, until Thursday. So that kind of put me behind, to get any cars picked up. And my other trailer's actually buried. Actually, my other truck and trailer are buried in the back of the shop. So I'd had to move several vehicles to get those out or get the other one unloaded. So I finally got the other one unloaded so that I'm good to go there. And so we'll be having some new inventory coming in this week. What else is going on? New videos for this week. I threw one up a couple of weeks ago, and see what if you caught it a couple weeks ago, about 2 or 3 months ago, I was out traveling. I stopped by a buddy of mine's yard and checked out a place I get a bunch of parts from, but I did some videos there. He's not open to the public anymore. He's retired. He's kind of open if he feels like it that day or if somebody he knows calls. And but he let me do some video there. I threw one up a couple weeks ago. I've still got 6 or 8 videos from his yard. We'll throw one of those up this week. Plus, I've got to get you guys some new inventory videos. I've got at least 3 or 4 new inventory videos to do of stuff that's already sitting here, not counting what I've got to start picking up and hauling in. So that's what is going to be coming up on videos this week, plus Toy Tuesday. Kevin, does the time change affect you any? I don't have a choice. I just got to deal with it. I don't like it, but I got to deal with it. So you just deal with it. That's about all I can do, unfortunately. And then, of course, Toy Tuesday. We'll do some more signs this week. I got a lot of signs to do. I got a ton of signs to do, actually, now. I've got several signs that I've been buying. I've got 8 or 9 signs that I've bought over the last month that I haven't showed you any of yet. That's right, Jason. I need a clone. So, so I've got a bunch of new signs that we haven't showed you. Plus, I mentioned last week, I had some buddies that had a bar that Jason's Garage says he's got a channel. Maybe it's Diecast they're saying something about. So Jason's Garage, check out his Diecast channel too. See what he's got going on. And but all these new signs I've got to show you. But I mentioned last week I had some buddies that had a bar and grill that I loaned them a bunch of stuff to decorate with. Jason does Mini Muscle Machines custom diecast. That sounds interesting. So check that out too if you dig that stuff. But they think they've got a deal on that deal. I don't know if they're going to sell it or release it to somebody else. So they told me I could come pick up my stuff. So started hauling stuff out of there. I picked up over 30 signs out of there the other day. 11 pedal cars of mine that they had on loan. I've still got some more signs to get out of there. I've got a bunch of grills to get out of there. So And that stuff actually was never even hung. We actually decorated that entire bar and grill with stuff that we picked up off of my floor that I hadn't even hung yet. This was just stuff that was just scattered all over the place. So we'll start working some of that stuff in because there's a pretty diverse collection of stuff there of soda pop and car and truck and gas and oil signs in that batch, a bunch of cans. Number one, do you see cans as storage as well? Not really. Put stuff in cans, you can't really see it. So, as far as display stuff. So we'll have to start working some of that stuff in too. But there's 8 or 10 new signs around here that are brand new to me, even just in the last month that we haven't seen yet. Plus, we got that massive stack of big oil cans to look through that we haven't gotten to yet. Start checking out. So, Joe, be interested in World War II aircraft stuff. Okay. We can absolutely start doing some of that stuff too. I don't know how many of you guys are into aircraft, but Joe on Facebook said he'd like to see some of it. We can absolutely start working some of that stuff in too. I love that stuff as well. A huge fan of it. And so, yeah, if you guys are interested, we'll start doing some of that stuff as well, maybe on some Toy Tuesdays. Plus, I had another idea that I wanted to throw at you for Toy Tuesdays at some point in time, and maybe we start doing them on somewhat a regular basis. What if we did a for sale Toy Tuesday? Anybody interested in that maybe? As I start sorting through some of this stuff. Brandon wants Wagon Wednesday. I love wagons. I just don't have enough wagons to do a Wagon Wednesday, I don't think. So, but I thought about maybe once in a while throwing up a for sale Toy Tuesday. So, number one, seconds the World War II part stuff. So that's cool too. So Darren's got to bail off. That's cool. Glad you guys made it. We're about ready to wrap her up anyway. So we can absolutely start working some World War II aviation stuff in there because I've got some of that stuff too. Do we have to bid on the toys in the live chat? Hadn't really thought about it, but I just thought I've got some of this stuff laying around I need to do something with. So maybe we'll start working in a few for sale pieces to on Toy Tuesday as well. So Joe says he's loved World War II aircraft since he's 5 years old. So yeah, hey, if you guys want to see it, we can sure show it. I mean, it's just sitting here for display. I'd love to share it with you guys. If you guys are interested in it, we can absolutely start working some of that stuff in. So anyway, that being said, I think that's about all I've got for tonight. Once again, it's been a great episode. All of you guys on Facebook and YouTube, we've still got a few people hanging out on Facebook, so I assume we have feed issues there. Need to check with my provider, see when they're going to actually punch that fiber through the wall of the shop and get me hooked up actually to the computer. Big Job says sounds good. So like I said, I've got some stuff that I probably should sell off. So Jason says his wife's excited for the stuff that's going to be for sale already. So number one says 3 different levels: beginner, toys, intermediate, and high end. Hadn't even thought that far ahead. I was just sitting there saying, well, there's some stuff that I could probably sell. So I thought maybe we could start working some of that into Toy Tuesdays. And then if they didn't sell on there, I could throw it on some other local classifieds or something, or start posting it on Facebook. So anyway, that's what I've got. That's what we'll start working together. But no, I hadn't even thought about what levels or anything like that. It'll just be some extra stuff, some duplicates, things like that we may start working in. So if you guys are up for it, we'll start doing it. We can absolutely start doing some more World War II aviation stuff. I love all of it. So if you guys are up for it, that's what we'll start doing. Like I said, what I do is just as much about you guys as it is about me. I have some stuff sitting here you guys like to check out. I'll share it with you, but your input all is what makes this what it is. Your participation, your comments, your support. The super chats are awesome. I still can't believe some of you guys even step up financially to help do what I'm doing. And number one says it's a great idea. Kevin says good night. Definitely enjoyed it. And that's another thing. I don't catch all the comments, but I do catch most of them when we're on here. But between Facebook and YouTube and all the Facebook pages I'm admin on and all the YouTube channels I'm admin on, it's just tough to catch all the comments. But I do appreciate you guys being on here. I do appreciate your support. The comments that I do catch while we're on, and hopefully this fiber internet will help the Facebook for all of those guys. So number one is definitely in for Toy Tuesday buying. So so we'll start. George says thanks. Glad you're still on with us on Facebook, George. And that's about what I've got. I'm going to bail off. I've got to get some work done yet tonight. I got to get some eBay done. I doubt I get to Craigslist, but Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll see you this week with a video from my buddy's yard, some new inventory videos. Toy Tuesday will probably not do anything for sale yet this week. I wanted to throw that idea out there before I started sorting through some of the stuff that I probably would sell. Scott says 50s hidden gas cap locations. That's another good topic, because there's a lot of the gas caps in the 50s that most people had no idea. Number one says, happy birthday, Kim. If it was Kim's birthday today, we want to make sure we give her a shout out for that too. Make a few notes about the hidden gas caps. So Toy Tuesday will be normal, but I will think about doing, say, a for sale Toy Tuesday, since you guys obviously like that idea as well. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Are we singing? I'm not singing. I mean, maybe you guys want to sing, but I'm not going to sing. So anyway, happy birthday to Kim. Thanks for being here. Everybody else, thanks for throwing that up there for Kim, for everybody. So I'm going to get to work. Appreciate the support. Appreciate everybody being here. We will see you live Tuesday night, and definitely check out the other videos that are going to be coming up this week. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you definitely back here next Sunday night, if not on Toy Tuesday.